Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to take you through a journey of the formation of Sensonomics. Sensonomics is a spin-off company that we formed in Smart this year in Sensam. The journey started about 8 years ago, when an inspiration has been taken from biological flow sensors that naturally exist in nature. They are called cilia, and after years of research and development, we developed artificial miniaturized sensors that can sense flow with ultra-high sensitivity. Nature features some of the most unique sensors with sensing abilities far beyond those developed by man today. In our work, inspired by nature, we develop micro and nano sensors with ultra-high sensitivity and accuracy, an ability that rivals those of the nature's counterparts. These are some of the flow sensors that are developed in our group at Sensam. I will quickly run through some of the most interesting ones. We have been able to fabricate miniaturized flow sensors that translate an ability of control and maneuverability of a blind cave fish into underwater vehicles. We have also been able to translate undulations that are present on a harbor seal whisker onto artificial sensors and thereby improve the signal-to-noise ratio of these sensors. Hair cells that are present on crickets give them an extremely high aerial maneuverability, and such a tiny flow sensors with hair cells sticking into the flow can actually improve maneuverability of airborne vehicles. We have also developed sensors that do object detection like a blind cave fish does underwater and translated them onto underwater vehicle platform. Now, in particular, the innovation that led to the formation of a company is inspired from the blind cave fish. Astyanax fasciatus, it's a kind of species of blind cave fish, in spite of having no eyes, has an uncanny ability to swim adeptly at high speeds without colliding any underwater obstacles. And it does this unique feat by relying on an array of sensors present on its body called as neuromass. If we have a closer look at each of those neuromass sensors, it has a naturally secreted polymer material that extends into the flow, interacts with the flow, and responds to the flow, thereby eliciting signals at the base of the sensor. Now, an inspiration from like this has been transformed onto an artificial platform through our MEMS work. What we did was to get a biomimetic inspiration of materials, functionality, as well as the structural morphology of the biological sensors and translate it to something that looks that tiny as we see on the nib of a pencil. And the sensor, if we look closer, has a very similar morphology of a hair sticking into the flow and interacting with the flow. And it has piezoelectric membranes at the base of the hair, which measure the flow, calibrate the flow. Now, the presentation is actually about how a transition has taken place from innovation that has occurred in the lab, as Howard mentioned, into company formation. So the first thing is an idea that has been generated from research 2008 to 2013, followed by identification of a beachhead and a space where we can penetrate into the market, a grant application that supports to form a prototype formation, and a business model development. That is followed by a progress or the stage that we are in at now, which is a proof of value grant application. Now, the first thing we did was to actually identify all the spaces in the market where a flow sensor is indispensable. Now, most of it is in the biomedical domain. All these applications have been come up with by conducting extensive customer interviews with doctors and end users. So we have conducted interviews in the respiratory care for flow velocity and flow rate monitoring in elderly patients, and also infusion pumps for fluid and drug infusions into the body to monitor the velocity of infusions, home-based infusion pumps, which are called as ambulatory pumps, urinary flow monitoring in urology applications, and a number of industrial applications like pipeline leakage monitoring and flow velocity sensing in pipes. Now, having so many applications, the hardest point was to actually pinpoint or know what exactly will be your beachhead for this. So we analyzed three particular things that Howard always mentions. The market, how big is the market, and is it a must-have, or it is just a good to have for your technology in this application, and what's the need? When we analyzed all these 3 points, we came up with infusion pumps, which would be our market, and let's see how it is. How big is the market in the infusion pumps? It's huge. It's 2.1 billion infusions that happen every year. And all the infusions are actually a single-time use infusion sets. From what is the need of sensing in infusions? From 2003 to 2012, if we see which medical device has the most number of class 1 recalls. For most of us who are not from the medical domain, what is a class 1 recall? It's those devices that have a reasonable probability to cause a major accident or even causes of death. And the answer for that question would be infusion pumps. And how better is it now? It's it's still about 8 class 1 recalls of the pump per year. And how does that resemble in terms of a company who's manufacturing infusion pumps? They have to recall, Baxter is a leading manufacturer of infusion pumps, and they have to recall about 200,000 units per year, costing them about 600 million right down. Infusion pumps are a boon, no doubt. They can infuse fluids into the body at a regulated rate, which gravity-based infusions fail to do. But the accidents or consequences of not infusing at the right rate could be fatal. How do all the infusion pump manufacturers tackle with this now? They ask all the users to get it back to their engineering laboratories and calibrate them once in 6 months. Now, calibration can reduce the chance of occurrence of an accident, but wouldn't avoid the accident, because accidents can come due to nurses misusing of the infusion pump, or a motor not running, or even the pipe not set well into the infusion pump. Now, is there any standard, if there is any standard of measuring flow live at the infusion space, is it going to change or revolutionize the standard of care in infusions? And for this, we analyzed how good our sensor is to get into this exact space. We realized that as compared to all the market study we did on other sensors that are available in the market, we are the only one who are small, because we are so small that we can do a direct measurement of fluid flow in the infusion pipes. We are sensitive. We can measure flow velocities up to 2 milliliter per hour, which is just a few drops of infusion per hour. We are scalable because we are doing a MEMS manufacturing technology. We can batch fabricate about millions of sensors in just a few batches of fabrications. And we are disposable. In a lab-based fabrication today, we are able to produce a single sensor at a cost of 30 cents for a 1 million sensor fabrication. The technology has been protected with a closely knit network of patents which have been filed over 8 years. Coming to the point of, did we actually test the sensor on the infusion pump? All of us would have seen this. This is just a normal infusion that many of us would have gotten at some point of time when we are unfortunate. So what we developed is an extremely small sensing unit that can be push fit right at the end of the infusion, where the catheter or the needle goes into the body. The manufacturers do not have to change the infusion line. The nurse can just put in the sensor unit, and this tiny it is, and the hair cell flow sensor that I showed you before is within this unit, and it can actually be incorporated within the lure lock designs of an IV. So we have tested the sensor for various infusion fluids in the laboratory, and it's actually a huge transition from where we were using the sensors on underwater vehicles to improve maneuverability to a biomedical domain where we now monitor flows in infusions. And what is the acid test? So we believe that the market is huge, we believe the need is amazing, and we believe the sensor is excellent. Now the acid test is to see if industry feels the same way or not. So let's see. We have contacted the major player, who is B. Braun. B. Braun supplies infusion pumps and IVs to all hospitals, most of the hospitals around the world. And we contacted them, presented a pitch, and they provided us with a letter of intent addressing to us, saying that, yes, they first acknowledged that infusion pumps today do not have a safety measure or do not have a flow sensing right during the live infusions. And they appreciate how the safety of infusions can be improved by having a sensor like this to measure the flows. And if we can develop a prototype that suits their requirement, they're ready to evaluate it and even integrate millions of such disposable sensors into infusion pumps every year. So this is the testimonial that the need is clear and the sensor has a value. It's not B. Braun, but there are major other medical players. There are also industrial players and leading hospitals of Singapore who are interested in procuring a sensor like this. And what's the roadmap and impact to profitability? As compared to Vicenti, we are at a very early stage now. We received the innovation grant from Howard about 2 years ago. And the grant money has been used to develop the prototype. We also made a business plan for this grant. We formed a team and formed Sensornomics. Even the business people in the team have come together. Now we are fundraising and applying for Spring Proof of Value grant and pitching for investor money at the moment. And we plan to develop a complete sensor working prototype that suits the requirements of IV manufacturers by end of 2017. 2018, we'll be co-partnering with biomedical companies to get the regulatories done. And then by end of 2018, we plan to have some pilot production of the sensors. I think this part I will skip because it's majorly for the investors. If any of you here are interested in putting in some money in this company, we have a plan. So we are actually looking for $350,000, and we are scaling it up by 4 times by adding in Spring POV, as well as some grants that are from Australia that we are trying at the moment. This is the team. Most of the staff here are PIs from MIT, PIs from NTU, Sensam postdocs, research scientists currently, as well as in the past. We are very happy to have industrial advisors who will also be a part of this company. Edmund Uy, who is the Assistant Director of Changi General Hospital, and from B. Braun Company, the General Manager. And I thank sincerely these people, the Innovation Center, for organizing all the boot camps, innovation fellows programs, and giving a business aspect to our project, and Sensam and NRF for funding the project. Thanks a lot.
Questions? Do you have to account for different viscosities of different infused substances?
True. So we have classified all the various fluids that are infused into 4 viscosity domains, and we will do the calibration for all these 4 and use those to interpolate for other fluids. Yeah.
Any question? Yes. Two more. John, and then.
So I notice you have your name and logo here at the end. Is that correct? Sensonomics?
Yeah.
So a suggestion I would have is that you put that in the corner of every one of your slides.
Okay.
Because I was sitting here trying to remember what was that first thing that you had, and I was looking for the logo and I didn't see it.
Sure, that's a good suggestion. For the future pitches, that's in for sure.
Jim?
So I'm just actually curious if you might comment, sort of personally on your journey here. I think that I've seen you give presentations over the years on various types of biomimetic investigations that are very fundamental in nature. And now, here you're applying it to something which is maybe quite different from what you anticipated. What's this journey been like?
So it has been a journey that I personally never anticipated. I have been just a true blue researcher doing experiments and writing papers in the biomimetic research. Most of the testings have been on sea trials with Professor Triantafelu. I think a lot of things have changed when we gotten the grant and the business aspect of the team, and I realized that the transition is actually not that easy. It is just that you need to let yourself undergo the transition. So it was hard to accept business things, and it's totally out of my domain, but when you start doing it slowly, I think it's not as difficult. And the team is, of course, the most important thing.
Okay.